I had to it. You just-
All right, good morning, everybody. I know it's just a minute or so after 9 o'clock. We're gonna give it just another minute before we get started on today's meeting. So we're just gonna mute for just another moment and then we'll be with the group.
That's kind of my routine these days. I apologize.
No worries. Okay, well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's CI Advisory Committee meeting. Appreciate our guests that are here with us in person as well as individuals that have joined us virtually. So just a couple housekeeping items. Just want to remind yourself to please keep yourself muted at all times. The chat is not monitored. However, there will be a public forum that's scheduled on today's agenda at 9:45. So wherever we're at in the agenda, we'll make sure we pause to see if there's any questions from the general public today. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in and do the roll call. Do we have Representative Dan Griffey? Representative Mary Fossey?
Present.
Thank you. Good morning. Senator Claire Wilson? Okay, Senator Matt Banky? Dr. Faith Lutz? Christina Davis? Lauren Taylor?
Present.
Good morning, Lauren. Thank you. Terry Fortner?
Good morning.
Morning, Terry. Thank you. Chris Elwell is here with us in person. Good morning, Chris. David Aiken?
Present.
Okay, good morning, David. Mariana Height, good morning. She's with us here in person as well. Karen Dove?
Good morning.
Morning, Karen. Thank you. And Minna Long?
Good morning here.
Good morning, Minna. Thank you. Okay, so again, just welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. We're thrilled about today's conversation, sharing some updates from the past quarter with everybody. Again, I'd like to introduce Secretary Tim Lang. He's here with us in person. So I just wanted to turn it over to Tim to share a few words.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. And thank you all for being here, especially those of you who are on the advisory committee and are volunteering your time to help out with this important work of ours. I've been in this role now for 4.5 months, and I've had, just since the last advisory meeting, I've had a chance to witness, observe, learn more about some of the CI programs and how impactful they are on the people in our custody. That includes the track program at WCCW. Saw the graduation there. What an amazing program. The Braille program, and then I happened to run into the superintendent of the School for Blind and was talking to him about that and just how people who go through that program have jobs when they get out. And then also the optical lab over at Airway Heights, which is for somebody like me who I like to build things and see how processes work. Watching the CNC machines cut the lenses was pretty amazing, and talking to some of the folks who are participating in that program. So really important work that gives individuals a sense of purpose and accomplishment. Looking forward to the discussion today and learning more about what's been going on recently. And thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Secretary Lang. And next I'll turn it over to Assistant Secretary Danielle Armbruster for reentry.
Thanks, Jamie. Good morning, everyone. Looking forward to the meeting this morning. I'm going to give a couple updates on the legislative session. not only just for correctional industries, but also for the reentry division, which CI is housed in. We had some very exciting bills that were passed that will be very supportive, not only to correctional industries, but to the reentry division and the department in total. First was House Bill 1185, and I know Representative Fossey, you'll be speaking about this later on, but this is regarding the membership of the Correctional Industries Advisory Board, and we're very excited that we're going to add 2 additional voting members to the advisory council of individuals that are previously incarcerated or could be in partial confinement. So looking forward to that process and working with Representative Fossey and members of the community to add to the CI Advisory Council. We also had Senate Bill 5029 that was sponsored by Senator Claire Wilson that helps us to remove barriers around transportation for individuals as they're reentering back out into the community. It used to be that the department could spend up to $100. And that has been removed, and it's really for how we can best fit the needs of the individual that's transferring back out into the community and making sure that when that individual is working with a community provider, that place is open and there's staff there that will welcome them and help them. So really looking forward to that bill being implemented. That will be effective July 27th. I was on the implementation meeting yesterday, and a lot of work is already happening to ensure that we're helping individuals have the best possible transition out to the community, because we know those first 72 hours are critical for individuals, and want to make sure that we do everything that we can for them to be successful. Second, we have Senate Bill 5139, again sponsored by Senator Claire Wilson, and that's concerning the Reentry Council. So that's the Governor's Reentry Council that he started back in 2016, and we have continued that work throughout the years. I'm a member on that council, and that bill will expand representatives to the Healthcare Authority, Department of Social and Health Services, Employment Security Department, 2 members from the community that were currently incarcerated or that were previously incarcerated. So we will be working with the community to add those members, as well as 2 persons who are either a survivor or a victim of a crime. So really expanding the work that we do with that council. We're doing a lot of work around Reentry 2030, the executive order 2403 that we signed, the previous governor signed back in September. So looking forward to the work that we're going to do on the Reentry Council with that expanded membership. Next, again, thank you, Senator Wilson, for Senate Bill 5219. That is expanding partial confinement. So partial confinement is when an individual can spend, it used to be either the last 6 months or 12 months of their sentence out in the community on graduated reentry, community parenting alternative, or in our reentry centers. And this bill will expand that to 18 months. So an individual can spend the last 18 months of their incarceration in one of those programs or a mixture of those programs, whatever best fits the needs of that individual. And we have a centralized screening team that is working really hard to make sure that we're not just choosing what we think an individual needs. We have that interactive process so that we are supportive to individuals. So looking forward to that being implemented. There's still requirements around certain tracks with graduated reentry that will be specific to crimes and supervision and things of that nature, but it will again expand that out to 18 months. So looking forward to that. So good news on that front. Another good piece of legislation that was passed within the budget for McNeil Island stewardship. So we have Correctional Industries has a responsibility of the McNeil Island stewardship to support Department of Social and Health Services out on the island. And we received a budget proviso to do a parcel analysis. So when the McNeil Island prison was closed back in, I think it was 2011, give or take, that's when the main prison facility was shut down. And then we took over the stewardship in 2013, I believe. And we have been in non-compliance with the deed because the deed is for correctional purposes. So we've been working with the federal government to figure out how we can become compliant with the deed. And this budget proviso will help us to do an analysis of all the parcels on the island in partnership with Department of Social and Health Services and Fish and Wildlife, and the governor's office to ensure that we can figure out the best path forward. So excited about that. So lots of good news, lots of good things that happened in the legislature this session. And I'm gonna end with a little bit of bad news. CI, and also when the budget passed, was given a $5 million cut to our funding. So you'll remember that CI operates on our revolving account, which is the goods and services that we sell. That's how we fund correctional industries. And then we receive a small general fund appropriation for back office functions, very small, and then the appropriation for McNeil Island stewardship. So we will, in fiscal year 26, which will start July 1st, we've received a $5 million cut to the revolving fund. As you know, and we've reported in past meetings, we don't even have a balance of $5 million. So we'll be working with the department's budget teams and OFM and figuring out how we're going to manage that. There will be some impacts to operations within correctional industries, and will limit some of the programs and services that we provide to the population. I don't know exactly what that looks like. Jamie and I are working on that to see how we can best mitigate the impacts to that, but there will be cuts coming as far as services and things in the new fiscal year. I will stop there and ask if there's any questions.
Okay,
Thanks,
perfect.
Jamie.
Thank you, Danielle. You know, as I welcomed everybody, I also just want to say thank you for the members of the committee that were able to make it in this past quarter to attend some of our mock interviews that we've housed throughout the state in Western Washington and Eastern Washington. So it's always great to get out and see individuals in between meetings, have that opportunity to have conversations about our current programs. We do a facility tour to see some of those current programs, to meet and actually engage in some of those conversations with the incarcerated population that we serve, but also to have some of the visioning conversations of, you know, hearing input and ideas of future opportunities that would be beneficial for the individuals that we serve. So again, thank you to the members that have been able to donate their time to participate in those events. So with that, we're moving to the agenda. Again, we'll have the business meeting. We've got the open forum with the general public that's scheduled at 9:45. We do have a guest speaker, an individual from Monroe Correctional Complex that will join us today, one of our incarcerated workers, to share a little bit about his experience. And then we'll talk about next meeting. So with that, we'll move into the review of our minutes from our meeting in March. So did anybody have a chance or have any questions about the minutes that were sent out? Okay, seeing no hands. Do I have somebody to approve the minutes as written?
So moved.
Priscilla, do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. I think that was Terry. Any nays? Okay, minutes are adopted. Thank you. Okay, and next we'll move into our division updates again, where we will share just the highlights of our operations throughout the state. We will make sure to pause in between just to see if there's any questions about our programs from any members of the committee. Okay, that's fine.
All right, good morning. Starting off with Braille. So Braille service workers transcribed 10,685 print pages, which equates to approximately 22,535 Braille pages and also 3,400 tactile pages. Those are the 2D renderings. So a lot of work they're doing in there. And as Tim mentioned, you know, it's very valuable to the School of the Blind and those individuals. A lot of training going on. So an in-house tactile test that was created was administered to 13 transcribers and 2 apprentices. So 15 individuals passed that test and earned certificates of completion for that. An in-house formats course with 12 participants is currently being instructed by one of the more senior transcribers. And that senior transcriber is an individual that has earned every certificate that is available. And then 6 of those program participants completed the CI Job Hunters course. And Jamie mentioned we've been doing mock interviews. And 5 of those were able to participate in that mock interview. And one of them, and the 6th one was able to participate virtually, just because they were conflicting with other programs that she was involved with. So a lot of important, great work happening in Braille. Thank you. And just on the other side of that room, computer aided design services. So this is our ProCAD department that supports the furniture division and those customers. They've also added 2 new individuals who are cross-training with our lead drafters. We're trying to evolve some of our IT and software rendering capabilities. And so we continue training with the Revit program, which allows a 3D rendering picture for building architecture, better space planning. And we are also working with one of our vendors, OEI, on receiving some additional training on KeyShot software, which helps with providing rendered photos with actual laminate colors, fabric selections in the customer space. So they get a more realistic view of what that final project will look like in their planning and design. They drafted 33 new projects in the last quarter, with the largest project being for DSHS in the last quarter. And then one of the drafters in there actually also completed the CI Job Hunters course and participated in that mock interview.
Brian, can I just add something for WCCW? So for the women's facility, we are always trying in all of our facilities to integrate education with CI. So making sure that we think about when we're updating contracts and working with the community colleges that are embedded in all the facilities, that they're supporting correctional industries. We've had a little bit of turnover at WCCW. So last year, you'll remember that we had our contract end with Tacoma Community College and started with Olympic Community College as of last July. They are unfortunately not going to continue that contract. They will work with us till the end of December. So we will be working with the State Board of Community and Technical Colleges to get a new college on site. And I just want to mention that we will be very mindful, Ryan, that we will think about CAD, because I know that we have that partnership with Education for ProCAD. And so thinking about that and making sure that the new partner will offer those classes to continue that partnership. We don't know who that will be yet. We'll make sure that that is part of the discussion.
And just dovetailing on that piece of the conversation, I think it's important to recognize, and we can share the data at the next meeting, but one of the data points that we continue to track through ESD and through a partnership is post-release employment percentage. And post-release employment percentage for individuals that go through the CI program, and it shows that those individuals have a higher success rate than individuals that don't go through a CI program. In addition, education tracks the data of individuals that go through education programs, which has a higher success rate than those that don't. In conjunction, we show data that shows individuals that go through the combination of CI and education are at the highest success rate. So again, to Daniel's point, the opportunity to dovetail education with workplace training programs statistically shows that those individuals have a higher success rate. So if recidivism or post-release employment data is hovering around 40%, just for rough numbers, without it in front of me, the combination of CI and education is more like 76%. I mean, it is an extreme difference. And so again, the further that we can integrate those 2 programs and partner creates better success opportunities for individuals upon release. So just wanted to share that.
Are you seeing any sort of trends when it comes to partnerships with educational and services going away or being more limited now this year? One of the concerns that I have is that with the defunding of a lot of the foreign education, a lot of the community colleges are really susceptible, and some of the vocational programs are really, that's easy cut territory. And so my concern is that we're going to see a departure of community and technical colleges from vocational funded programs.
So we're paying attention, of course, to the federal cuts and what that looks like as far as Pell and other things. I think we're fortunate in Washington State. The legislature supports education to the highest degree, and we receive a specific funding source to support community and technical colleges inside all of our prison facilities. That budget was not cut for this fiscal year, but we do see a little bit of struggles with the community colleges as far as on the community side, not the prison side, of the offering of classes and kind of starting to limit what they are offering. I think the thing that we're thinking about for the women's facility, because we've had to close down textiles, we've had to limit things with different programs, and then with Mission Creek closing, we'll have that population that's moving to WCCW. So we want to be really mindful that we're thinking about how can we replace different opportunities for the women. But yes, we are starting to see on the community side, some of those classes start to shrink, but inside the prison facilities, the offerings have not been affected, as well as Pell. We have 3 facilities or 3 colleges that have received their Pell certifications that we will be working to announce in the next couple of weeks as soon as we have all the final paperwork. But are concerned as far as what that looks like moving forward with Pell, but are grateful that we continue to have the dedicated education budget from the legislature for the department.
Thank you.
Well, for the population, not for the department, but for the population.
I'll add too, the approval of the Pell programs came through the Federal Department of Education in the last 30 days. So that was, obviously a lot of uncertainty on the federal front, but was a positive development there.
Great.
Ready? All right. Well, Steve Peterman, reporting on our construction trades work. We had 9 track graduates at the women's facility, WCCW. Believe it or not, 2 of them have already gone to work. So, and they just graduated a couple weeks ago, I think, right? Or a month or something like that. It wasn't that long ago. So that's really exciting. We had one join the Iron Workers Union, probably a direct result of the trip that Ian reported out last time. They were there, we'll go down there. We had one join the laborers. We have someone in the carpenters too in the last 3 or 4 months up north. So our partnerships continue to really pay dividends for the graduates of that program. So we are so thankful of Chris and Sound Transit also, because that's another piece of the opportunity that's always provided. So we did not have a AJAC Manufacturing Academy class inside a facility last quarter, but we did serve 5 people in the community around the state. So that was good. But good news, we are back in a facility this quarter. That graduation will be June 18th, I believe, at Mission Creek. So we have 9 graduates of that program coming right up. And then our flaggers class, we are winding that down because that ends, scholarship fund ends on June 30th. We are looking to renew those scholarship funds. We did 80 people last quarter around the state. We just did 2 classes, one at Airway Heights and one at Walla Walla early in May. And we have our last class this Saturday at WCCW. And then we'll look at procuring some more funding for those. So 80 people were served that quarter. These CTAP, our construction trades apprenticeship preparation, run through the colleges in the different facilities. We had around 50 people in there. And I just placed, a CTAP grad right now has his carpenter's orientation on June 21st. Down in Kent. So really exciting to be able to help him. And then I was just contacted yesterday by one of the Monroe graduates who is looking for, some navigation, so I'm able to put him in contact with some folks too. So, we're getting there, moving people forward. Was actually a pretty busy quarter. I have to say the AJAC class, I really wanna, that grant will be ending on September 30th. But we are looking at some different, sources for funding. That's a really great class. It's really developed over the last couple of years. It went from a completely virtual, thing that we started during, COVID. And now it's 100% instructor led. We've added, Haas, CNC programming. They've really stepped up to the plate. I was just out at Mission Creek the other day watching the women program that CNC machine. So really exciting. And they're also building radios, working with circuit boards. So a lot more hands-on than it was in the past. So it's really developed. And so we are looking to beef that up a little bit and see if there's a way to at least continue that in the community, if not in the facility. So Ray, I think that's about everything that I got, unless anybody has any questions.
I have a question, just rather a statement. So obviously I'm biased when it comes to construction trades. So one of the exciting things is, you know, we do a lot of like behind the scenes, like marketing, having conversations because, and this is me being totally honest. Peterman's program has had the highest number of retention. It's such a great program. So it's an easy kind of persuasive conversation with our contractors. But we've got actually now quite a few of our vendors. So Antius is a pile driving yard out of Seattle. They're now signatory with the carpenters, but they really want to get involved and they want to hire your graduates like immediately. Also Steeler, which is they're a manufacturer company that we use for like our materials, but they also want to see how they can get involved because there's a big need too. So I want to see how we can kind of bridge those relationships and get pile driving a little bit more excited, you know, implemented into the program as best as we can, because there is going to be a big need for more pile drivers as well as carpenters.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So we'll get together, I'll send you an email and we'll start to connect with some of those contractors and then get them on our lists of people that we can send them to.
Perfect.
So-
Okay.
And navigate them to. So, thanks.
Yeah, and then you can always, in addition, you know, make sure that those types of connections are maintained in our greater reentry team, our
Yes.
education team. We have reentry navigators. We have one CI workforce, community employment navigator. Thank you. Yeah, so I mean, again, all of those connections are just incredibly valuable and,
And
you know,
just a sidebar, if we make sure that we get Mimi and Karen involved.
Right.
Because we can really help navigate folks. That's the workforce development at CI. They've been working with Concrete Tech down in the border of Tacoma. They're looking for folks and they're interested in hiring Second Chance also. So I know we can put some people to work in those places, especially some of our prep grads or folks that have long-term CI experience.
Wonderful.
So,
Exciting.
Steve, I don't have a question, but just a comment. When we were at the track graduation, one of the graduates was releasing that day, or transitioning, not releasing, transitioning
Yeah.
to a reentry center, and her community corrections officer was there.
Yeah.
And I was at that facility a couple of weeks later and ran into the graduate.
Yeah.
And she's like, track changed my life.
Mhm.
And I'm so grateful for Ian and Steve. And she just went on and on and on about how your caring and your compassion for them and just your investment in their success and what that means to them. So wanted to share that she was at the reentry center, she was doing well.
good.
I don't know if she has a job yet. I can't report on that, but
One of the best stories, in fact, one of Peterman's track graduates is also a pile driver. Now Della just got nominated, elected as a delegate. She's the vice chair of Local 196, about to become a 4-person for Orion. So she's out there really making some waves in a really positive direction. So your program is
Terry?
as
Yeah,
very,
She's journeyed out a long time ago,
Yeah.
so she's super
she's
successful.
moving up, and
Yeah.
soon, hopefully, we're gonna get her on staff as a business rep.
wow.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And this is Karen online. If people do have that are already a registered apprentice that need support services, right now is the time to come to Anu for those things, any kind of assistance, because we do have some money that needs to be spent by the end of this month. So if you know anyone out there, Steve or Mariana, that need assistance, or anyone else, please send them our way.
Sounds good.
And I believe we might be having a little technical difficulties. Can those of you that are online see our screen right now of the presentation?
No.
No.
Okay. Give us just a moment here.
Cannot see the screen.
I love technology.
No, then it should.
Okay, how about now?
Now you're up.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. All right. So I'll jump into food manufacturing. So just a few updates with that program. Again, as we know, we see it in the private sector. Food prices are continuing to be volatile. Our food manufacturing team has done a really nice job of working with our vendors on pre-purchasing some of the raw materials like egg and poultry that we know that we all saw in the groceries, significant spikes. The great news is because we kind of foresaw that coming, we were able to purchase that and it didn't necessarily impact us. Food manufacturing during this past quarter provided core services to the Department of Food Service team in terms of supporting Passover and Ramadan, which again, we continue to see the highest participation year after year in those individual programs. So kudos to our food manufacturing team that again has the halal certification that provides a lot of the food for our halal menu, and then food manufacturing supports in terms of purchasing with vendors throughout the country for specific Passover items. So moving into food service. Food service, again, same events of the service side of the Passover and Ramadan. They were successful events for the population that chose to participate in those. Food services continues, of course, serving roughly 40,000 meals a day. In addition to that work, they continue to see an increase in the number of family centered events that they're supporting, as well as cultural programs and religious events. So those events such as, powwow or the Eid feast, food services continues to provide the food for all of those meals. The food service administration team has been able to get out to site visits, supporting all 11 facilities, seeking input, and currently working on some pretty significant menu revisions in preparation for a fall menu release. I know there's been a lot of conversation even over the last few weeks with the facility leadership. There's various gardening programs that go on. I know over the last couple of years, WSP has really been able to enhance their facility garden, and WSP facility receives that produce, but because of the abundance and the way that, growing crops goes, at those peak times, we're able to transport some of the products and share that bounty between Coyote Ridge and Airway Heights. Again, no single facility could ever grow enough produce to sustain without still purchasing necessary products from local produce vendor. But what it really does is enhance the current menus with some additional offerings. So that always goes over really well as we're coming into the spring and summer months. And lastly, food service admin has been working with the facilities on providing the information for ServSafe certification. It's just a small certification that individuals that choose to go into the hospitality industry post-release that is an industry standard by the National Restaurant Association. So we've been trying to get that opportunity passed out to the facilities as well. Okay.
Okay, moving into furniture brand and sales. So product offerings and some samples were provided to Department of Enterprise Services for review. These are under review for the new Pritchard building remodel expansion that's on the Capitol campus. DSHS has been working closely with the assigned account executive for several large projects that will be realized in 2027, 2028. This includes the new construction of a hospital wing at Western State Hospital. And so we are working very close with them so that way we can support their needs and capitalize on that opportunity. A few months ago, we sent a sample of our residential living metal furniture to University of Hawaii to be reviewed, tested by that student body. They have continued to express their interest. It did pass the test of the college students, and they intend to purchase several hundred units over the next few years. So that could be some nice sustainable business as they slowly transition all of their product over. I guess there's an issue with bugs and the humidity in Hawaii that makes wood furniture not attractive to them. So they really like the metal furniture.
Still pretty.
It's still pretty.
Okay.
And we have been, we're currently building some samples of some more value-based products. Not everybody wants an adjustable desk, so we are working on a fixed base, very economical solution for home offices or for other agencies or education. So. At the factory side, on the furniture manufacturing, we were fortunate enough in the last year or so to get some new CNC equipment and update those operations. Those are being used on a daily basis now. Along with that, we used Microvellum for our programming of those CNC machines. And for a period of time that programming had to be manually entered between the business office and the machine itself, we've created tool files that allow us now to send that programming directly to the machine from the business office. So it just modernizes the operation, makes it more real world like for the individuals that are working in there, and reduces waste and movement and steps. So other key focuses, as I think we're all aware, we do have a change with state budget and spending, but it has allowed us to take some opportunities to really key in on eliminating waste, ensuring that we are optimizing the raw materials that we do purchase, and product development for our customers, and just streamline a lot of our processes. So yeah, it's a negative that we're slower, but it's also provided some opportunities for us to really take a look and dive in on how we can improve operations to be more cost effective. Thank you. Any questions?
Good morning, everyone. Incarcerated Services is the commissary program and our package program, as well as our bulk sales program. So I will start with commissary this morning. It was a busy quarter from January through March. In March, the agency experienced a outage of the commissary app on the incarcerated tablets. That outage lasted a full month, 21 business days. So it was a significant impact to the commissary program. Typically, if there's an outage with the tablet app, the incarcerated can use the phones or the phone app to place their orders. And typically any outages are maybe 1 or 2 days. And the impact isn't too great because, like I said, they have other alternatives for placing their orders. This particular outage was much more significant and impacted all mechanisms for placing their order via the phone or the tablet. So the commissary transitioned to paper order submittals. So you can imagine that was quite the overtaking, both from just the amount of sheer volume of paper to the processes involved in sending and receiving those orders. So essentially, incarcerated would place their order, they would be collected in their units. A staff in each of the units would then collect them, scan them to the commissary team at Airway Heights. They then had to print all of those orders, so duplicating of the paper, and then manually enter them into the system. So a lot of work involved. We did limit the dollar amount that could be ordered during this time to accommodate the extra work that was involved and to allow the production to still continue. So thankfully we made it through. I don't think there there was obviously a significant impact, but overall the response was really well handled and managed by the commissary team. They did an excellent job of communicating to the incarcerated population about the changes. It was, all in all, it turned out well. And like I said, it was a 21 business days, so the entire month of March. The package program, had a win in the first quarter of the new year. The policy change allowed an increase from 20 to 25 pounds for incoming packages. So that began in February. Also in that policy change, and I believe I mentioned it at the last meeting, was the ability for CI to add hygiene products to the
I was like, yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
yeah, okay, it's very strong.
Yeah, it's very strong. We can all
Yeah.
follow it, yeah.
The ability to add hygiene products to the package program. So that change, policy went into effect in February. And I'm happy to announce that, this month, just on January, or June 1st rather, the hygiene products have been added to the package program. So we'll report at the next meeting, what kind of, success we're seeing with the addition of those hygiene products. So it's about, I can't remember the total number. I want to say it's about 70 different hygiene products, from hair products to body care, soaps, those types of items that are in addition to what's already offered through the commissary. So just another avenue of different products that are now available for that population. That is all I have for the incarcerated services. Thank you.
All right, good morning, everyone. My apologies for not being able to be there in person this time around, but it's great to join you all this morning. So to report out on laundry, I do want to recognize the collaborative work between CI and the facilities to coordinate this year. We transitioned the equipment piece to the facilities, and so a lot of coordination has to take place in order to have equipment replacement happen. And so we were fortunate enough to have a washer replaced at Airway Heights, a dryer at Stafford Creek, have the ducts cleaned at WSP. And we are also going through a re-engineering of the officer uniform space at Shelton. I do want to give a shout out. Is everything all right?
So one of our vendors is on site doing routine maintenance of the building, one of our fire suppression systems. And all of a sudden, we all in this room got an overwhelming smell of natural gas. And so we're just opening some, so if you start to see us, get droopy, let us know.
If you need to leave, my report out isn't that important.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Apologize, Todd. Go ahead.
I just hope you're all right.
Yeah.
You're lightheaded because of the natural gas, not because of my boring report out. But anyway, I do want to recognize and give a shout out to our camp staff. They've done a great job of coordinating. Unfortunately, we had one team member that ended up in having a motorcycle accident up at OCC, and so our camp staff, under the direction of Wes Markham, have been coordinating to make sure that OCC is covered while still having the other camps covered as well. So just really a thank you for to their respective institutions as well for their support and being able to get those folks moved around and still keep the laundry going. And finally, for laundry, a focus for this last quarter was getting our staff and our incarcerated, a number of them, through our Association of Linen Management certifications and preparing them for mock interviews that were held on May 14th. We had mock interviews, and a lot of our laundry workers were able to participate in that. Always a great event. So as was already spoken of earlier, if you ever have the opportunity to participate in that, I strongly encourage it. It's definitely uplifting and shows where the rubber meets the road for our program. Now we'll move to licensing services.
Hey, and Todd, before we advance, I'm going to pause, recognize that it's 9:45 and see if there's anybody on the call from the general public that has questions for the committee. Seeing any hands raised. There's nobody from the public here in the room. Okay, we'll notate in the minutes that there was no questions. So Todd, we'll turn it back to you for license plates. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jamie. Licensing services. So the plate you see right now during the presentation is one of the plates that were approved during this last legislative session. There were also some other plates that were approved, including the Mount St. Helens, LeMay America's Car Museum, Smokey Bear, the state sport, which I was educated on, is pickleball. I was not aware that that was the state sport.
Wow.
But I got very educated during this legislative session. And more. Keep Washington Evergreen, a historical throwback plate, which is basically a black and white plate, and then the honeybees, the Protect Our Pollinators plate that you see on the presentation. So this last quarter, we're now maintaining a good supply of plates to the Department of Licensing. We've experienced a 70% material waste reduction. As has been reported out in the past, we have instituted new equipment within the last couple of years, and through that have had opportunities to reduce. We had some waste, of course, that comes from learning, but 70% material waste reduction. And right now we're in the midst of investigating possibly new equipment for our tab production area over in Monroe. So we'll be looking at that over this next year to bring that production up to date and into current industry standards to give more opportunity to our incarcerated workers and provide an easier product to produce with the technology that's now available. So that's my report out on licensing services, unless anyone has any questions. All right, thank you.
Jamie, before we start, just for the people in the room, they are flushing, the Northwest Fire is flushing the system throughout the whole building. And it's got the old water that comes out. And the guy said it smells like embalming fluid, and that's probably what we're smelling. It's like an embalming fluid type smell. So just so we're aware.
I thought we're okay. Like,
Yeah.
No one's gonna explode.
All right, we're okay.
If you're not okay, you're half embalmed.
Yeah. All right, sorry about that.
no, appreciate it.
Thank you, Alan.
Checking on that.
So McNeil Island stewardship. So as part of our stewardship, we continue to extend and remove quite a bit of old dilapidated equipment, scrap metal, other artifacts left over from past inhabitants. So this is to continue cleanup of the island. We are working with KPFF, which is an engineering firm, working on adding plans to add a new 25,000 gallon tank near the decommissioned fuel farm, and a 2,000 gallon tank at the end of the causeway leading to the ferry dock. This will allow us to permanently close the buried pipeline that comes down from the fuel farm to the dock. So modernize the facility a little bit, mitigate some risk for potential spills and hazards, and reduce holding capacity to what current operational needs are, not historic. It always seems I'm reporting on some sort of marine vessel coming in or out of dry dock, and that's not going to change. So the marine vessel McNeil returned from dry dock to reduce some costs and to expedite that dry dock period. We did everything we needed to do while it was out of water. While it's in water, we were able to replace a generator and do some of the paint work on the top side. And that work's been completed. And yeah, that's all I have. Questions about McNeil? It is the most scenic place in all of CI, so if you ever want to visit, please let me know.
Optical department at Airway Heights. I want to thank you for your recent visit, Tim and Danielle, visiting that operation. So appreciate you coming out to Airway Heights in Eastern Washington to look at some of those operations. Optical is currently maintaining status quo. We did see an uptick in orders in April. So the department was able to do some overtime in May to stay on track with the production that's coming at us. We're currently moving and consolidating equipment out of Monroe with the recent closure of that optical lab. We'll be working through the equipment, making the best use of that, and then surplusing some other items out of that operation. We continue to see a decline in skilled workers, and our ability to get workers into the optical operation takes some time to bring these folks up to speed with learning how to make the eyewear and glasses. So we're looking at, future state focus of like potentially upgrading the equipment. It's a different technical skill set that we can teach these individuals upon release, because that's what's, the market is currently using out there, is all this automated application, which is kind of interesting for them to learn, as they try to seek additional employment out in industries.
Vicki, one of the things I thought was really fascinating when we were there a few weeks ago for a tour is that Pat Mercer, who's one of the supervisors there, had one of the incarcerated individuals give the tour. And he talked not only about the process of the optical lab, but talked about making it work, talked about the certifications that he's been able to receive, and then had us met one of the individuals that's transitioning out to the community in a few weeks. So it was really a neat perspective to have one of the workers give the tour from his perspective and the benefits that have helped him while he's been incarcerated.
Yeah, that supervisor, Patrick, he's very involved in teaching these individuals, and he gives them the opportunity to kind of coach and mentor other folks that are learning and just getting into the lab. And we've been featured on a few videos, and Mr. Duvall is his name, who was the individual that kind of shared. And gave them.
Did he give your tour?
Yeah. So they're really proud of the work that they do, and even some of the work with the Lions Club, like repurposing and neutralizing the glasses to donate those back into that program is very rewarding work for those individuals. So, but thank you for your recent visit.
Yeah.
All right. For safety and risk management, brought up his name a moment ago, but do want to recognize Wes Markham. He returned back to his assignment overseeing laundry and also our risk and safety piece. He did a stint for us helping out getting our license plate program on track. So I want to give a shout out to Wes and appreciate his work and being a great utility player for CI too. So we're now back to reinforcing regular scheduled safety meetings in all of our CI operations. We're also working collaboratively with the facility safety officers to always be, improving and doing a better job of our safety culture at each of our facilities and each of our operations. Audits are taking place, and you really, post-COVID, we've really seen the safety culture thankfully kick back into gear. We've seen a reduction in accidents on the job for not only staff, but our incarcerated workers as well. And so really appreciate everybody's efforts continuing to focus on having safe operations for our workers and our staff. So that's a report out on safety and risk management. Thank you.
Moving to service and delivery, wonderful photo there of a recent installation of some, I believe that's Legion panels.
Yeah.
Is that correct? All right. So four of the workers became forklift certified in the last quarter. Alan Phelps, the general manager back there, and his team offers those training courses once a month for newly incoming workers to the program. Very valuable skill as they transition out into the community to have some of that experience. 2 incarcerated workers completed necessary hours to earn their certificates of proficiency, one on the installation team and one as part of our warehouse team. Some cost savings measures. We are always trying to find opportunities to reduce our costs. We've been reusing pallets statewide. Historically, pallets are kind of a burden to just about any operation. You have to find a way to get rid of them. So when Alan discovered and the team discovered that other operations were actually purchasing them, we said, hey, we got plenty of them. So I believe we sent about 4 trailers of reusable items to include pallets, cardboard, corner protectors, other protective packing material out to other shops to reduce some of their costs in their packaging and shipping. So great job.
All right, textiles. Really great work taking place in all of our textiles shops across the state. We're seeing increased production and capacity and quality out of our operation at Airway Heights in regards to our embroidery product. The Department of Children, Youth, and Family Services has agreed to purchase their uniforms with us now and are currently doing so. The Department of Transportation is now receiving all of their safety wear through us. The group has done a great job of really paying attention to inventory this year and working through how to have the right amount of inventory on hand, but not so much inventory on hand that overwhelms us, from a financial aspect. And very happy to report too, we've had a number of other states reach out to us and inquire about the different textiles products with us, whether it be incarcerated clothing to mattresses to uniforms. So we've seen some great things within our textiles operations and really looking forward to a good closeout to the year with that group.
All right, workforce development. As you've heard a couple of times already today, the workforce development team hosted mock interviews recently. So on March 6th, the team hosted mock interviews up at the women's facility in Purdy. Just a little bit of background on those. The Job Hunter series is what they incarcerated participate in prior to mock interviews. They're learning about job readiness, resume preparation, cover letters, how to give their 30-second elevator speech, those kind of things, how to answer some of the tough questions that they might receive, what type of information they need to provide, what kind of information employers aren't supposed to be asking them about, up front during the interview process. So they're learning all of these things ahead of these mock interviews. They also receive financial literacy training. So it's about a 2-hour course that the team prepared. That one seems to be very, very beneficial, and they receive a bunch of information, a bunch of packets that they actually get to take with them so they can start learning how to budget and how to gain credit while they're when they get out, those kinds of things. So that's all done prior to the mock interviews, with the event being kind of the culmination of those activities. One of the fun things that they get to do during these mock interviews is wear business attire. So with the women's facility, the team went out there several times with different blouses and sweaters and professional tops for the women to try on. So at the end, I think they went out 3 different times just to make sure that every woman had an appropriately fitted top to wear during the event, which is much appreciated. We had guest interviewers from the reentry division. We had employers, we had community resource partners. Most of them stayed the whole day, so we had a morning and an afternoon session, which is typical of our events. And during the middle part, the participants, the outside volunteers, they go on a quick tour of the facility. So they got to go out and see Braille and ProCAD during this event. There was 2 individuals that had gone through, like I said, the job hunter and the financial literacy training, who at the last minute were not able to attend the in-person mock interview event. So they participated in our first virtual event. So this is something that we're going to try to do at our camps where it's not feasible to host an in-person, and then also in these sort of situations where we have folks that did all their preparation, but for one reason or another weren't able to make the event, or maybe we don't have an event planned before they release. So we try to have an event every year, and maybe there's an individual who is going to be releasing who would really like the opportunity to have a mock interview experience. So those are hosted virtually. And with community partners again, these 2 individuals, one was getting out and going to Spokane. So we intentionally paired them with Spokane resources. And another one was interested in learning more about the resources that were available in their community. So it really provided a good opportunity to increase the tailoring of the experience to the individual as well. Virtual interviews since then. We have a new employment specialist that just started last month, so very excited to have her on board. They are actively participating in employer events, community resource events, all sorts of opportunities to engage with potential partners, specifically local chambers of commerce, Association of Washington Businesses, those types of organizations are focused right now. Recently, they attended the Alliance Northwest event in Tacoma in March, and they were able to meet and engage with a large number of employers who are interested in providing second chance employment. So very exciting stuff going on with the workforce development team.
I just have a quick question, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So one of the big pushes that we're doing at the community is as somebody's entering into the workforce is understanding their rights as a worker. Is that something this program does so that they understand, like, how do you advocate for yourself, like knowing, the laws that benefit them when they're going to the workforce?
Some of that we could probably do more. So it would be love to get your take on any additional information, but we are providing them with information specific to not needing to answer questions about their crime and specifically how to answer questions, making sure they know about the banning of the box, and more recently that they're not allowed to be asked about their convictions, I believe, until after an offer has been made. So we're informing them of those types of employee rights, but I'm sure there's additional areas where we can improve.
I think it's focusing more on on the job, like what you're entitled to in terms of lunch breaks, what is a straight A, what is.
Exactly. And then we get into the really important things of wage theft, worker exploitation, things like that, which happen all over the place. So I'd love to get you connected with some folks that do a lot of work kind of in King County, the Office of Labor Standards. I think they do a really good job of labor and compliance. It's really important.
That would be great.
Yeah.
I'll connect you, and she's probably on, but we can't see who's there. Mimi Jansen is our workforce development administrator, so we'll get you in touch with her and get you connected both on this and then on the previous question earlier about just more engagement.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And employers. So
thank you.
Awesome. Wonderful.
Okay, next slide. So at this point, we have our opportunity to hear from our guest speaker. So I'd like to introduce Lon Turner, who is our Correctional Industries General Manager up at Monroe Correctional Complex, who I believe he will be introducing our guest speaker. Lon? There we go.
Actually, he's sitting with Matthew Blair, the commissary
wonderful.
supervisor.
Oh, perfect. Well, welcome, Matthew. I'll turn it over to you to introduce Mr. Clark.
Good morning, everyone. Mr. Antaeus Clark, he's been an excellent worker here in the commissary at MCC. He does a lot in the facility, including Toastmasters. I knew this would be a great forum for him to share his story and and how much he's appreciated working for multiple CI shops. So, Mr. Clark?
Yes, thank you. So good morning, first to the council. Thank you for this opportunity. As he stated, my name is Antaeus Clark. I've currently been incarcerated for 9.5 years. I've worked the entirety of that time within CI, both in textiles and now commissary. I got incarcerated in 2016. Prior to my incarceration, I opened my own property management and landscaping company in California in 2014. I currently still operate that business. Since that, I've also opened up 2 more endeavors, which one in Washington with my current wife. We have a property management and landscaping, and we also do home cleaning. My journey through CI has been one that created one of the most pivotal shifts in how I looked at my incarceration, because as we all know, going through the incarceral system, me having to accept the failure of the horrible choices that I've made that took me away from my family and my love of my businesses was very daunting at first. I had no desire to do anything but, mope and wallow in self-pity and do the blame game. And it wasn't until I was offered the opportunity to work at the textiles facility at Column Bay that I was reinvigorated to understand that this setback wasn't not a failure. It was an opportunity to learn and reintroduce myself into what my love of business is. The textiles factory was an amazing tap in for me, as fashion has always been one of my loves of life. I took fashion design, and when I got to textiles, being able to be back in front of a sewing machine, being able to put together the materials and things like that really sparked the interest. What was also a very interesting dynamic was me learning about the leveling system and how inmates were empowered to be in leadership positions and for us to communicate with each other on a different level other than when we were in our main facilities. So that really sparked my interest, and I started to take a lot of points from those who were in leadership positions, and then just my interactions in that first initial meeting with the supervisors, how who I was at that moment wasn't important to them. They stressed who I could become was what they wanted to foster and what they wanted to look into. And they were very interested in the skill set that I brought forth. So being given that platform to demonstrate the skills that I brought forth from the outside world into CI was transformational for me. Pivoting from Column Bay to Coyote Ridge, that experience in itself showed that my work ethic would be followed, which was very encouraging and also was very uplifting for me, because due to my transfer from Column Bay to Coyote Ridge, a recommendation was given, which I didn't even believe that was a possible thing, because this is prison. And how do you get rec? It seems like each time you transfer for facilities, you have to start all over through the process, go through putting in your referrals, going through the application process. It was very amazing to me that, similar to an outside world, a letter of recommendation was written and I was accepted into the textiles facility within Coyote Ridge. I remember when the lean manufacturing came around, and that was a concept that I had never heard of. So being able to have an opportunity to participate in that and being given more skill sets that I myself was able to utilize within my own companies at that time was just monumental. And then again, just the communication. I remember I am a practicing Muslim. And I remember there was a time period when there was confusion about would we be allowed to pray, how it was being perceived in the workplace. And across the board, it was very heartening that my supervisors and those that were in authority came to us and were like, listen, what do you need from us in order for us to accommodate you in this practice? Because we respect and value as workers, and we want to make sure that you're able to indulge and participate in your religious practices. And it kind of like was one of those moments where I really had stepped back, because I'm not even allowed to pray in the units in my facilities. But here it is, CI provided me with a space and an opportunity, and even provided rugs when I was at Column Bay and Coyote Ridge for me and my Muslim brethren. So just that humanity and that inclusionary practice really hardened me and really moved me forward to continue to be within the CI. Moving forward, coming to commissary. Commissary has been one of my most rewarding experiences just due to the social dynamic that it offers. I'm very much believing in the fact that We empower individuals by giving them opportunities and giving them chances. The leveling system in commissary is a lot different from that of textiles, because in textiles, we kind of have the model of floor managers, and the level 4s run each line, and each individual is placed or tasked with that production. Whereas in commissary, there's very much a unified effort. The line, including the bagging station, working with the clerks. If all of us aren't in unison, then this shop doesn't run well. So them empowering us to have those conversations and understand that that communication, to me, is more valuable than what most will hear from incarcerated individuals who work in textiles is about the pay. To me, that I would rather get paid less and have a beautiful experience and gain skill sets that are transferable to when I transition back into the community than being given a minimum wage and not gaining the necessary skill sets, the necessary interpersonal communication skills, those leadership skills, those team management skills that are pivotal to success when you transition there. So overall, CI is not only reinvigorated my entrepreneurial spirit, it has also helped me in the multiple programs, as Matt is spoken, because around this facility, you can say I'm a Renaissance man. If there's a program, if I'm not leading it, I'm an active participant in it. I'm currently the co-director of the state's first peer resource center, which we were about 22 of us were selected, and we became certified peer specialist counselors, which was a rewarding experience. I sit on the boards of the BPC, the CLO. I'm one of the board members here at the mentorship. I just got reelected as the president of public relations for Toastmasters, but I've been the president, I've been the vice president. I've used the skill set that CI readily allows me to use every day in every aspect of my life during incarceration. And without it, I can honestly say that those skill sets would have fallen dormant and probably would have went to the wayside, because CI allows for me to use those interpersonal skills. It allows for me to gather my team together and give tasks, and also empower individuals to understand, like, CI isn't just a workplace, it's an experience. They try to the best of their ability to simulate those experiences that we'll encounter when we are transitioning back, which is pivotal. Some of the things that I hear from guys who have returned was their inability to socially adapt to what a real workplace is required, where you aren't just given a specific task and told exactly what to do, where it requires innovation, it requires critical thinking, it requires being able to understand what that command chain looks like, how to properly communicate with your supervisor, what a problem is, and how do you move forward with it. And CI always provides those opportunities.
Oh, are we on?
Sorry.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Clark. So this is Jamie Dolan, Director of Correctional
Yes.
Industries. Thank you for so eloquently sharing your story, your experience, and your passion for just bettering yourself, right? I mean, you always have been a very, it sounds like a very active participant in your own journey. So kudos to you for that, because that takes a lot of, self-motivation. Is there anything that you see as you've gone through your journey that we can do to continue to support individuals, maybe individuals that aren't as motivated, that can help them along the way?
Thank you for the question. And yes, I recently just had this conversation with our supervising team as far as like there being a more immersive training when it comes to leadership qualities, interpersonal skills, and team and project management, meaning though I'm a level 4. Me being a level 4 means that I'm required to have the skill set to come into the shop, be able to place individuals in the positions that I believe they are most effective in, which will help us get production done, and being able for that communication process to be there, hands off from those who are our actual supervisors, so that I'm had that experience. Now with me, it's a special case because I came into this position already possessing those skills. But we take making it work, and then we have the financial literacy class. But there are no classes or there are no programs that I've been afforded or that have been at the facilities that I've been that specifically tap into those things, that specifically address what is a leader, what are leadership qualities, What do those roles look like within different positions that we may encounter? You know, what are those interpersonal skills? How do you speak empathetically to an employee and understand where they're coming from, listening to their needs, and then actually facilitating conversations where those things may be necessary? Understanding what project and team management is. How do you compile a team? How do you look for the best talents necessary, source those, and then place them in their proper positions so that everyone is able to effectively do what we come here to do, which is to get production done? And then conflict management. Within every industry, you'll have instances where you and your supervisor or you and your coworker may not get along. And being in the environment that we are, there's a severe lack in conflict management when it comes to what is actually used in the business place, where in prison, we go through a grievance process. Whereas in the real business world, you know, you'll contact HR. So what does that look like? What will that process look like? What are your rights? What should you know about that industry so that you're able to properly navigate those things? Because we as incarcerated individuals, as I've heard, encounter these things countless of times when we're free. But because we have no working knowledge of our relationship with human resources, what human resources job entails, that sometimes becomes a gap that can become a hindrance and then will lead us into an unemployment status.
Thank you for that. And of course, I would like to open it up to any of our members on the phone or here in the room with us to engage in any questions you have for Mr. Clark.
I have a quick question, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I was interested in something that you said about the quality of social interactions in the work environment. And I'm wondering, beyond the skill sets that you're learning in these environments, what that different shift in culture was like and what impact it had on you, just by virtue of being a different environment in which to socialize with people. I found that fascinating. I'd like to hear more.
Oh, excellent. So prison in itself is a very unnatural environment, and the way in which we engage with each other is very much survival of the fittest. Removing an individual from that and placing them in an environment where we're not here to survive, we're here to cohabitate and accomplish and provide services. What that social interaction does is it allows for you to decompress, and it also allows for you to step back and actually look at the environment with you in and ask you the question of, how do I become better? Or how do I enhance when I leave from the workplace? How can I simulate that? So for me personally, working in CI made me understand that I was doing a disservice to my incarcerated community by not stepping into certain positions where advocacy was necessary, where we needed someone who could speak to our issues in the manner in which those that have authority over us was. And it also allowed for me to see my incarcerated individuals not as combatants, but as individuals who are just looking for or needing that motivation to better themselves. So me being in a work environment and remembering, this is how you move amongst coworkers. This is how you move them. And these are my friends. These are individuals who come in and have the same daily stresses as me, and humanizing them instead of them being individuals who I feel like I need to protect myself from. So CI providing that social interaction allowed for me to take that and replicate it within my living unit, which then not only enhanced my own personal interactions, but would also enhance the quality of living for those individuals that chose to understand that all we are individuals who have made mistakes and we're still humans. But if we forget to treat each other like humans, then we become no better than the animals or the monsters that people perceive us to be. So that was probably the biggest shift that CI provided when social interactions was me able to first humanize myself and then reflect that back into my incarcerated community and begin to humanize the individuals around me.
You are eloquent. I'll tell you. That was charming. So I'm hearing that there was some residual effect. So when you left that work environment, there was lingering effect that social change had on you that you could carry back outside of that environment as well. Did I get that correct?
Yes, you did.
All right, thank you.
Very, very intelligent. I really appreciate the natural, what I revere as like leadership, mentorship, that I think that you could also, this message displayed to other individuals. I think, in situations that we look to people who can understand us, who can guide us, support us. And I feel like you have a lot of those really strong characteristics, which is really important. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Fine.
So I guess got a question. As Washington's moved to adapting, amend practices, Washington Way, how have you seen the department, and those relationships between staff and the incarcerated evolve over the last 9 years? Just in general, I observe, CI programs, and even the subtle changes that have happened over the 9 years in that, but just overall, whether it's uniform, non-uniform, et cetera.
So that's an excellent question, and it makes me so recently my facility had the Asian Pacific Islanders diversity event, and we had an individual officer who came in for the first time in plain clothes. He came in without his badge. He came in full regalia. He's a really big Philadelphia Eagles fan, and it was mind blowing because he had been invited multiple times to events, and he felt that he couldn't participate. So to see him come in there and sit with us and eat with us and, actually participate as just an individual from the streets was mind blowing. We're still talking about it to this day. And then even at the highest level. So I'm a mentor within the Mentors Facilitating Change here at Monroe. Every Friday, me and our mentor group, we sit in a room with our associate superintendent of programming, our associate superintendent of the facility, and our superintendent, along with our associate superintendent of security and implementation. And we do this every Friday. We've been doing this every Friday since before the departure of Lisa Anderson. And within those rooms, we have real conversations about what does our community need? What is our community lacking? And not of them talking at us or not even talking with us, but there to listen about how do we help you improve the living standards in which you live in. And it's been spoken multiple times from one of our associate superintendents that in his 30 years of working within DOC, he never thought that he would be sitting in a room with incarcerated individuals and actually hearing them. And that is, to me, the purest form of what we're looking for with the amends. I'm a very strong proponent of choices made for us without us. And now seeing that the choices that are made and us being given the realistic scope of what can change, what we have access to, what we can actually advocate for, and then being given reassuring commitments by staff that we will do as much as we can where we can. And just 9 years ago, as you said, those conversations weren't happening at all. So for that to be a regular, I think, a matter of fact, today alone, I have a meeting as a tier rep at 12:30. Then I have a diversity meeting at 2:30. And then Friday, tomorrow, our administration is allowing for us to do our own interviews with our mentorship group to replenish those who have been either released or transferred to other. And they allow for us to completely control that process, to completely design the process of which we do the interviews in, and they just sit back. They've given us full control over our program, which again, is something that was foreign to us when you think about how the volunteering program process works. So I've seen the willingness and the commitment to the amends in real time, not just on paper. As when you see the superintendent of your prison come and sit down with you, and he's not there to reprimand you or say anything, he just come to say, listen, I just came to see what y'all was doing today. The office is boring. I didn't get this job to have to sit in my office all day. I came to see what the population is doing. Like I've seen officers play ping pong. Like we had a Street Fighter video game tournament within my unit. And I had to sadly say that, even though most of us haven't played Sega in 30 years, to see staff willingly, openly participate in a competition with us, again, that humanizing factor is one of the most critical components of rehabilitation. Reminding an individual that you're just someone who has made a mistake and you can get up from that. You can return to that. And amends is allowing for the highest in those positions to come and have those conversations with individuals instead of it being just, oh, I have to write you up. I have to do this, having that conversation like, look, help me help you. because I'm gonna go home. I know you don't want to have to deal with what you have to deal with. So what do we not have, or what are we not seeing, so that we can give you the help, the programs and the resources that you need to be the best you? Because at the end of the day, we have to deal with ourselves, and staff's position, in my opinion, has always been to be able to facilitate and support us in the best natures in our journey. And I feel like amends is finally unhandcuffed the old ways of how prison is working, and just understanding these individuals will one day be your neighbors. You want to give them the best opportunity to be able to live in your communities, be productive in communities, and contribute.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And it looks like we have one last question from one of our advisory committee members, Minna Wong. Go ahead, Minna.
Hi, Mr. Clark. Thank
Yes.
you so much. Just a comment. You know, you are not just going through this process yourself and helping yourself and your, you know, immediate family, but you're making a huge impact on countless people and changing lives. And I recognize that and I see that, and it's absolutely amazing. And you said something that I have experienced as someone, you know, with lived experience of incarceration, where, you know, you mentioned the word humanized. And I just wanted to say that personally have found that to be one of the most pivotal things in my journey is humanization of self and others. And it's been probably one of the most profound things in my journey. And I just wanted to say that it was really exciting to hear somebody say that. And I, you know, that might not be super obvious to everybody else, but, you know, I see that and I recognize that. And that's a huge part of the healing process and, you know, the journey that you're on. So thank you so much for sharing. And I'm really proud of everything that you're doing and the impact you're having on everybody around you.
Yes, thank you for your comments. I appreciate that very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Clark. We really appreciate you taking the time out of a very busy schedule to be with the committee today, to include Secretary Lang, who we have the pleasure of having with us today. So we appreciate your honesty, your vulnerability, the work that you've done, and you know, the continued journey. So we're here for you. We'll continue to support you. We're always open to any feedback. I know your supervisors there with Mr. Blair and Mr. Turner. If you have any ideas, always feel free to funnel things through them. So again, we just appreciate your willingness to speak with the committee today. So thank you.
Yes, thank you again for the opportunity. And I've heard a lot of beautiful things. I'll speak with Blair, and I definitely appreciate it. And yes, we through collaboration is the only way that true change is made. So thank you for actually creating the process, as Ms. Long has said. If you don't look at us as humans, we'll never be anything more.
Thank you so much. All right. Well, I'm sorry I didn't say that at the very end.
I know, I don't know. I we should adjourn at that point.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
So no, again, and we will continue to try to outreach to individuals that have gone through our programs, whether they're in the community, or currently incarcerated. You know, our goal is to continue to hear their voices, hear their feedback, things that we can continue to do. You know, Mr. Clark spoke about lean manufacturing. You know, a huge pivotal point of that is continuous improvement. And that's one thing in CI that we're continuing trying to strive for. And again, our end goal is to try to, isn't the items that we're manufacturing, but the opportunities to create these programs for the betterment of the individuals that we serve. So always appreciate individuals willing to speak with the committee. So with that, I'll actually turn it over to Representative Ossie to speak about as the prime sponsor on House Bill 1185.
Thanks. Yeah. I appreciate being here. And then that was really impactful to hear from Mr. Clark. We passed a policy this last session, 1185, and it was in reflection of, can you hear me okay? In reflection of the policy from 2024, the Nothing About Us Without Us Act, and also in reflection of the important work and opportunities that this Correctional Industries Advisory Committee does and that CI does. And a way to improve that is making sure that we include people with the lived experience. As we heard from Mr. Clark, hearing from folks is very impactful for what we do. So the Nothing About Us Without Us Act, unfortunately, only applies prospectively to statutory entities created after January 1st, 2025. So essentially what we did with 1185 was take that, putting 2 voting members, having it applied to this committee where we have 2 voting members appointed by the governor to be added to the Correctional Industries Advisory Committee. And those 2 voting members have to have direct lived experience and come from underrepresented populations. And I spoke with the governor's office this week, and it sounds like they've been meeting with Christy Knudsen and team regarding the implementation. And it's going to go through the typical board and commission application process through the governor's office that they usually do. And they expect the openings probably to be posted around July 1st. And so folks can apply that way, and appointments we'll probably be seeing later this fall. Happy to answer any other questions if you have any.
Does anybody on the committee have questions?
Are people actually applying right now for that position, or is it
It's not open
appointed,
yet.
or-
It's an appointment position. And so it will be going through the board and commission application process through the governor's office, since the governor will be appointing that position. And they don't open it up. They have actually quite a few appointments that they're doing for a variety of roles. And so there's, a lot of work to be done with, having a new governor coming in. But this one, they expect will probably be, the posting will open around July 1st.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being willing to share that with the committee. I think it'll, continue to add a, perspective to the committee that will continue to help us shape our programs, hopefully grow our programs, potentially identify any gaps. So, appreciate the sponsoring that bill, now law. So thank you. Okay, and closing us out, we just have a couple items on our old business. So with that, I will turn it over to Todd to update the committee on where we're at with our financials.
Thank you, Jamie. And unfortunately, once again, I must apologize. I had a power outage on my end, and so I had to call back in. So hopefully you can all hear me fine.
Yep.
But on the displayed graphs, we're showing that our revenues are up, but honestly, everything is up for this year. We have higher operating expenses and higher cost of goods, and that's basically reflective of where the state of the economy is right now as well. So overall, relative to last year, we're trending right in the same areas as we were year to date March as of last year. Although we are showing right now a negative or a net loss of $1.2 million year to date as of the end of March, we believe that we're trending well to be net neutral come the end of the fiscal year. As Danielle mentioned, we are seeing how we can navigate this $5 million piece that's being swept. And I can't appreciate enough just the collaborative work and just all of the working together that's happening with the department and in particular with business services to try to navigate this and keep us in a good place. We realized, as Danielle pointed out, that there will be some cuts, but hopefully not too impactful, so we can continue the great programming that we have and providing the various services. But right now, that this is where we're at as of March. And like I said, we are looking to break even by the end of the year, but I think that also reflects that we don't immediately have $5 million just to hand over either. So we'll continue working with our DOC partners on that.
Okay, thank you, Todd. Next, we'll finish up with update on our D365 IT integration program.
Great, thanks, Jamie. IT is not as dynamic as Mr. Clark's speech there. So this is just an update on where we're at with the project. D365 has been a multi-year project. We are partnering with our IT folks and working with food manufacturing and food service currently. On the screen there is just our timeline of our next targeted dates associated with food manufacturing work that's currently in flight. Earlier this week, we submitted a proposal to our executive steering committee on the schedule. And it was endorsed. Thank you, Danielle, and our executive sponsors for your approval to proceed with our next task, which is entering into user acceptance testing with food manufacturing. So there's a series of things that need to happen. We'll have to heavily work with Brian Barlow and his group on a data refresh out of the old system to transfer new information over into the new system into the test environment. There's a series of scripted tests that they will have to complete, anywhere from how to create a sales order, how to run a full production plan, how to invoice and pay our bills basically with the finance group. The user acceptance testing is about 5 to 6 weeks, with a series of tasks for each separate operation within that. The project team will then go back and evaluate the test results, what's working, what's not working, and then complete the fixes that are needed in order to move on to the next phase. So over the next couple of weeks, we will go to the executive steering committee for a go, no-go decision and continue to move forward. So this has definitely been a long project, but we're making some progress. Textiles division is heavily manufacturing based and using a lot of the functions right now. This will be the first time that we've added in another line of business that's heavily manufactured based. Food manufacturing is a critical, production type. We have to feed the state. So we're being mindful of where we plug in those series of tasks to not interfere with their other work. So yeah, it's progressing really nicely in partnership with IT. Perfect. Pause there for questions.
I just want to add something, Vicki, with this. This has been a difficult system to implement. It's like Vicki has said, it's been a multi-year project with a lot of hard work, not only from correctional industries, but IT and business services and others. And so I just want to, thank you and Lindsay and the other staff that are on the project teams. Jamie as one of the sponsors of the project, but also to the IT department. So Assistant Secretary Kellett Sayre has really stepped in and helped us and supported us to see where we need resources and where we need to streamline the processes. So thank you to him. Thank you to the CI teams. I know it's been difficult and frustrating, but I see a light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm grateful that we're integrating the system in partnership with IT. So thank you for everyone's hard work.
Well, we appreciate our executive sponsorship support. So thank you very much.
So in closing out today's meeting, we had the opportunity to update the committee, had some good discussion on where we're at with our programs. Just want to put it out there that we're always open to ongoing discussion on where it is that we want to go. So we talked a little bit about the collaboration with education. We're exploring additional opportunities to further collaborate on that education CI partnership. Post-COVID, we have been in a phase of contraction. We want to get back into that phase of where we're expanding our programs. One of the challenges that we do continue to seek or to experience is the numbers of incarcerated workers. Our programs are strictly voluntary, which we believe in. But one of the challenges with that is there are various classes of work throughout the prisons and with deductions. And so one of the challenges that we see is statutorily, we're required to take, different percentages that go to pay off, their legal financial obligations. We do have a 10% that goes into a mandatory savings account for post-release. So that's one of the areas that we're going to continue to explore. Is opportunities to equalize those deductions. In addition, we're going into that wonderful time of the year where traveling is a little easier. So I do want to put it out there for any of our advisory committee members. If you want to get out to some of our facilities for a tour, this is a great time to visit any of our shops. So please don't hesitate to reach out. As you heard about our workforce development programs, those are really humming along. We're getting out to almost every facility. We have a schedule in place to get out to those facilities for the mock interviews. We're always open to ideas of additional programs or education that we can give to our incarcerated individuals. So I really like what you said about, employment law, right? Like, what are their rights? And I think that's another tool belt that we can provide those individuals to help them be successful upon release. So I just want to say, I really appreciate the conversation. Our next scheduled meeting's on September 18th. So hard to believe that the school year will be started again for that time, but I really appreciate everybody's time, and let's notate in the minutes that it is 10:42 and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you.